Welcome to True Crime Threads, where we unravel the dark and gripping stories hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. In today's episode, we delve into the shocking case of a pastor who deceived his community about the tragic death of his daughter. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, Pastor David Walker and his family held a position of deep respect and admiration. David had been the town's spiritual leader for over a decade, his sermons inspiring, his manner warm, and his commitment to the community unwavering. Alongside his wife, Susan, and their 17-year-old daughter, Lily, he cultivated an image of a close-knit, morally grounded family, one that the townspeople looked to as a model of goodness. Together, the Walkers attended every church event, organized countless community gatherings, and often hosted meals at their home for church members in need. David's presence was both comforting and authoritative, and he enjoyed the trust and loyalty of his congregation. Lily, a quiet and thoughtful young woman, was a beacon of kindness and compassion. She volunteered tirelessly, organizing charity events for the church and even visiting nursing homes on weekends to spend time with elderly residents. Her teachers praised her dedication, her friends admired her gentle spirit, and she had become something of a local hero among Willow Creek's youth. For many, Lily seemed destined for a future that would make her parents proud, possibly following in her father's footsteps to serve the church and the community in meaningful ways. Behind the public facade, however, there were hints that all might not be as perfect as it appeared. One bitterly cold evening, the serene image surrounding the Walker family shattered with a sudden, heart-wrenching announcement: Lily had been found dead in her bedroom, an apparent accident that left the community stunned and devastated. Pastor David addressed the town himself, his voice breaking as he explained that Lily had suffered an accidental fall, ending her life in a tragic twist of fate. Church members gathered immediately, offering their condolences and rallying around David and Susan. The Walkers appeared grief-stricken yet composed, finding solace in their faith and the comfort of their community. The outpouring of support was immediate. Church pews filled with mourners, flowers and candles lined the front steps, and countless letters and cards were left at the Walker residence. Willow Creek, united in grief, mourned the loss of a young life taken too soon. Yet, as the days passed, subtle inconsistencies in David's story began to surface. A few close friends and neighbors recalled brief conversations with Lily in which she had expressed a certain unease, an anxiety that seemed uncharacteristic of her normally cheerful disposition. Some whispered among themselves, wondering if there had been more to Lily's life, or her death, than her father was letting on. But these whispers were swiftly quieted by David's presence and reassurance. The pastor encouraged his congregation to accept that Lily's death was a terrible accident, meant to be a time of healing rather than questioning. Yet, beneath the quiet facade of grief and community support, doubt had taken root. A few people couldn't shake the feeling that something vital had been overlooked, and that the carefully crafted image of the Walker family might be hiding secrets that Willow Creek could never have anticipated. As the town began the slow process of healing, small whispers of doubt surfaced, casting shadows over the grief that had settled in Willow Creek. A handful of people, mostly those close to Lily, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. They remembered seeing her in the weeks before her death, noticing a restlessness in her usually serene eyes, an uncharacteristic tension when she spoke about her home life. Lily had always been known as a bright, composed young woman, dedicated to the church and her family. However, in recent months, friends noticed that she'd grown quieter, sometimes seeming almost withdrawn. When they tried to ask, she would quickly change the subject or force a smile, but the shift in her demeanor hadn't gone unnoticed. Despite these subtle but troubling memories, Pastor David was quick to assure the congregation that Lily's death was simply a terrible accident, a tragedy that no one could have anticipated. His efforts to comfort others, while seeming deeply personal, also seemed to divert attention from asking questions. Even the police investigation appeared unusually brief, limited mostly to confirming David's story without exploring other possibilities. This hasty conclusion left many unsettled. Among those who couldn't let it go was Officer Megan Hayes, a young detective who had attended David's church for years and felt the loss of Lily personally. Despite her respect for the Walkers, Megan found herself drawn to the unanswered questions lingering around Lily's death. Acting on instinct, Megan started her own quiet investigation. She visited the church more frequently, listening for any rumors that might have eluded her, and soon she found something unexpected. While speaking with the church counselor in passing, Megan learned that Lily had been seeing him for private sessions over the past few months. This information hadn't been shared publicly, and Pastor David himself had never mentioned it. Suspicion sparked in Megan's mind, but she kept her questions to herself for the time being. Continuing her investigation, Megan managed to gain permission to go through Lily's room. There, among her personal items, she discovered a journal tucked beneath Lily's mattress. The pages revealed a side of Lily that no one had known, a young woman grappling with intense feelings of isolation and a sense of being trapped. In page after page, she expressed her fear, her feelings of invisibility, and her struggle to live up to expectations that loomed over her. Lily had poured out her emotions in her journal, writing about her father's strict rules, his demanding expectations, and the tension that had been building within her for years. Each entry seemed to unravel more of the family's carefully preserved image, exposing the weight of pressure and control under which she had been living. These discoveries unsettled Megan deeply. The more she read, the more she realized that Lily's life had been filled with quiet struggles that no one had noticed, or perhaps no one had wanted to see. Megan wondered if this private struggle had contributed to her tragic end, and if so, why was Pastor David so adamant that it had been a mere accident? What might he have been hiding, and why? These questions swirled in Megan's mind, intensifying her determination to look deeper into the secrets surrounding Lily's death. As more details emerged, the air in Willow Creek grew heavy with unspoken doubts and suspicions. Pastor David's reassurances, once so comforting, began to feel almost like deflections, his calm demeanor hinting at something hidden. Some members of the church, particularly those closest to the Walkers, began to notice subtle changes in his behavior. His sermons, once inspiring and heartfelt, now seemed almost mechanical, as if he were distracted or weighed down by something he couldn't quite shake. Congregants whispered in hushed tones, exchanging glances during church gatherings, unsure if they should trust the man they'd long revered. Lily's close friends recalled moments that suddenly seemed important in hindsight. They remembered her sometimes shrinking away from her father's stern looks, an intensity in his expectations that seemed to press down on her like a weight. A few of them privately acknowledged that Lily had mentioned the strain she felt, the pressure to be perfect, to uphold the family's image, and to never disappoint her father. These memories clashed with the image of Pastor David as a devoted, compassionate father, leaving them feeling torn between loyalty and doubt. Amidst these growing suspicions, local reporters picked up on the rumors circulating about Lily's death. They began asking questions about the Walker family, and David, once eager to present his family to the public eye, started avoiding interviews and public appearances. His withdrawn nature only fueled the speculation. To complicate matters further, a series of financial inconsistencies within the church's records began to surface. The church's budget, previously well documented and transparent, now contained gaps and withdrawals that seemed out of place. Several large amounts of money had been taken from the church funds shortly before and after Lily's death, with no clear explanation as to where these funds had gone. These revelations set the town abuzz. People who had long overlooked David's control over church finances now questioned how much they truly knew about their pastor. Megan, who had been quietly following the clues in Lily's journal, grew increasingly disturbed. She suspected that these financial withdrawals might be tied to a more personal motive, one that could reveal deeper issues within the Walker household. When she finally managed to confront David with her questions about the finances, he brushed her off, claiming they were for family matters and assuring her it was private. However, his dismissal only fueled her determination to uncover the truth. Rumors circulated even more wildly. Some people speculated that Lily might have discovered something about her father's dealings, something that would explain the financial discrepancies and perhaps the intense pressure she had felt. Megan shared her concerns with a few trusted colleagues, and they agreed to dig deeper into the church's finances and the timeline around Lily's death. The community grew increasingly divided. Some remained fiercely loyal to David, trusting his word as their pastor, while others began to question whether he had hidden motives and secrets buried beneath his role in the church. Slowly, the perfect image of the Walker family began to crack, and people started to wonder if the tragedy of Lily's death had roots far deeper than anyone had imagined. Months passed since Lily's death, and the once tight-knit community of Willow Creek was increasingly fractured by suspicion and unease. The somber mood of mourning had transformed into an undercurrent of resentment toward Pastor David. Officer Megan Hayes, now driven by a relentless pursuit of truth, continued her investigation, determined to unveil the layers of deceit surrounding Lily's tragic end. She had pieced together a timeline that suggested something far more sinister than an accidental fall. Megan discovered that several years prior, David had been embroiled in a scandal that nearly derailed his career. She found old newspaper articles detailing allegations of financial misconduct linked to his previous church in another town. While the claims had been dismissed at the time, they left lingering questions about David's integrity. As Megan examined the parallels between his past and present, a chilling realization began to form in her mind. David had much to lose if his daughter revealed any connection to his former indiscretions. In her quest for the truth, Megan reached out to former members of David's previous congregation. They shared unsettling stories of a charismatic pastor who had skillfully maintained an image of piety while manipulating church funds for personal gain. This information intensified Megan's resolve to investigate David's relationship with Lily, who had become increasingly aware of her father's past. It was evident that the pressures of maintaining the family's pristine image weighed heavily on her. Through her conversations with Lily's friends, Megan learned that the young girl had found documents suggesting her father had been involved in financial discrepancies and deceitful practices long before her death. Lily had confronted David about her discoveries, but the details surrounding their conversations were unclear. This confrontation had created an environment of fear and manipulation, causing Lily to feel isolated and desperate. Then came the chilling details from Lily's journal. In her final entries, she expressed profound anxiety over her father's reaction if he discovered she was questioning him. The burden of secrecy began to feel unbearable to her. Megan pieced together the possibility that, in her quest for truth, Lily may have intended to expose her father, risking the collapse of the life he had built on a facade of morality. As Megan continued her investigation, she discovered more discrepancies in the church's financial records. Large withdrawals coincided with the weeks leading up to Lily's death. This revelation confirmed her suspicions that David had been hiding something significant, possibly to prevent Lily from uncovering the truth. The pressure on her to remain silent may have reached a boiling point, leading to a confrontation that had ended tragically. With mounting evidence, Megan felt the weight of responsibility to act swiftly. She presented her findings to her superiors, who began to see the connections between David's past scandals and Lily's death. The community, once a sanctuary for the Walkers, now found itself on the brink of a reckoning. As whispers of impending legal action began to circulate, it became clear that the shocking truth behind Lily's death would soon come to light. The fallout promised to be far-reaching, and the town of Willow Creek would never be the same again. As the investigation progressed, the tension in Willow Creek reached a boiling point. Officer Megan Hayes, with her team of detectives, prepared to present the evidence they had painstakingly gathered to the district attorney. The weight of their findings was immense, and the community held its breath, teetering between disbelief and outrage. Many had once revered Pastor David as a pillar of the community. Now, he stood accused of manipulating not only the church finances but also the life of his daughter, Lily. The day of the announcement arrived, and the town gathered in the community center, which had become a makeshift hub for the investigation updates. A palpable sense of anticipation filled the air as residents exchanged anxious glances. Many still clung to the hope that the rumors surrounding David were mere misunderstandings. But others had begun to accept the uncomfortable reality that the man they trusted might have been hiding darker truths. Megan stood at the front, flanked by her colleagues, as she outlined the evidence against David. She detailed how Lily had discovered his past indiscretions and financial mismanagement, emphasizing how these revelations could have threatened the carefully constructed image he maintained. The evidence from Lily's journal, her final written thoughts filled with fear and anxiety, painted a harrowing picture of a young woman feeling trapped and desperate. As the information unfolded, murmurs of shock and disbelief rippled through the crowd. Faces turned pale, and whispers filled the room as Megan explained how David had used emotional manipulation and intimidation to control his daughter. When she revealed the connection between the large withdrawals and the timeline of Lily's death, the crowd erupted in gasps. It became painfully clear that the pastor had been hiding more than just a past scandal. He had potentially orchestrated a tragedy to protect himself from being exposed. In the wake of Megan's presentation, the town erupted in outrage. People felt betrayed, their trust shattered. Church members who had once rallied around David now found themselves questioning every interaction they had ever had with him. With mounting pressure from the community, the district attorney announced that they would charge David with obstruction of justice and child endangerment, among other offenses. Pastor David's arrest came days later, drawing a stark line between the past and the present. The media flocked to Willow Creek, eager to report on the unraveling story of a beloved pastor turned villain. As David was led away in handcuffs, the townspeople watched, a mix of relief and anger etched on their faces. The image of a perfect family, once adored, lay in ruins. In the weeks that followed, the town came together to honor Lily's memory. They created a garden at the church in her name, a serene space for reflection and healing. As flowers bloomed and benches were installed, the community began to reclaim their narrative, moving forward in the wake of tragedy. The garden served as a reminder of the importance of truth, compassion, and vigilance, a place where no one would be silenced again. Megan felt a bittersweet sense of closure. While the truth had been uncovered, the cost was high. In the wake of Lily's tragic end, the town learned a painful lesson about the dangers of blind trust and the importance of speaking up. As Willow Creek began to heal, it held on to Lily's spirit, a young girl who had sought the truth in a world shrouded in secrets. The scars would remain, but the community vowed to stand together, stronger and more vigilant than ever.